there will be a huge number of changes coming both in the clinical service and in research, which we have to respond to. We know that as the clinical services reopen, the research services will mirror those. So the first priority we have to pick up is cancer care, obviously of patients with very considerable need. From a research viewpoint, a lot of our cancer studies didn't close anyway because they're such an integral part of clinical care, but we want to see as a first priority the rest of those cancer studies opening. Following that, we will need to open some other commercial studies for the organisation. There are two reasons for that. The first is that a lot of those commercial studies are, if you like, the later phase clinical trials of new medicines getting to patients that have a good chance of changing the outcome for people. And the second is the finances. We rely on the commercial income from trials to support the research delivery service across the piece. We've had 2 months of effective close down a lot of our commercial trials, so we want to make sure that our income is also protected by opening them again as quickly as we can. There are some areas of the organisation that have done a lot of commercial work, gastrointestinal and liver disease, respiratory medicine, and probably neurology too. So we will certainly try focus initially on reopening those areas, but any area where there is commercial trial activity will certainly be looked at very carefully and will hopefully follow very soon after that. The next phase will be reopening all of our other studies, and this will be very dependent on the trust strategy for reintroducing normal working, or as normal as it will be in the future. I think it's important to say that there will be some very fundamental changes, I think, after COVID in the clinical services that will be mirrored in research. Patients will not come to hospital if we can avoid them coming to hospital. So telephone conversations, video links will become the norm for a lot of consultations in the clinical services. And the R&I team are currently working very hard to work out how we can use these in collaboration with our trial sponsors to do follow-up, for example, in clinical trials. So a big piece of work to do around that. I think, though, we will see that patients will increasingly be more willing to come to hospitals, particularly for clinical trials where they know they're likely to get benefit. So I think we can see sequential reopening of a lot of our other clinical trials over the next few months. To do that, we absolutely recognise that there will be challenges. There are the logistic challenges of how do you get people safely in and out of hospital, but there are also the internal challenges. I've said already we're hugely grateful to our workforce who've done enormous amounts of work to get the COVID studies delivered. That takes a toll on people. There's an exhaustion factor, there's a change to a way of working to get used to, and we fully appreciate that. I hope that those clinical trials coming online will be commensurate with people getting adequate downtime, adequate rest. I'm sure we'll do everything we can to make sure that happens. We know we'll rely on people's goodwill, we'll rely on people continuing to work flexibly to do it, but I'm wholly confident, having seen what we've been through over the last 2 or 3 months, that this reopening of our normal clinical activities will happen flawlessly and will be hugely supported by you all. Again, I'm very grateful for all your efforts.